I'm 94 years old and my name is Harold Bennett. My wife has been gone for 3 years now. I learned too late that being right cost me my marriage. There isn't much time left for me, and I don't say that to be dramatic. At 94, time isn't a theory. It's a short hallway. I can see the end of it. I'm not telling you this because I want comfort. I've had enough time to sit with what I did. I'm telling you because when you get to my age, the truth starts knocking louder than pride ever did. Her name was Margaret. We were married for 58 years. That sounds like a victory. People used to clap when we said the number, 58 years, as if length alone meant something. We met when I was 24. She was 22. She laughed easily back then. I remember that laugh more clearly than I remember what I had for breakfast this morning. It was quick and surprised, like she hadn't planned on being happy but couldn't help it. I was a serious young man, even then. I liked things in order, facts straight, plans made. I believed that if something was true, it mattered more than how someone felt about it. That belief followed me everywhere. I worked as an accountant. Numbers made sense to me. They didn't argue. They didn't cry. They didn't change their minds. 2 plus 2 stayed 4 no matter how tired you were. Margaret worked at the library before the children came. She liked stories. She would tell me about them at dinner. I'd listen, but I'd correct small details sometimes. If she remembered a date wrong or mixed up a name, I'd step in. It was 1892, not 1894, I'd say. She would smile and nod. At the time, I thought I was helping. Accuracy mattered. That's what I told myself. The first few years of our marriage were good. We didn't have much money. We rented a small house with thin walls and a kitchen that always smelled faintly of onions no matter what we cooked. We fought sometimes. Every couple does. But our fights were small and sharp. They ended quickly. I usually won them. I don't mean that proudly. I mean it literally. I would gather my points like evidence. I'd lay them out one by one until she ran out of words. When we bought our first home, Margaret wanted yellow curtains in the living room. I thought yellow looked cheap. I showed her paint samples, lighting charts, articles about resale value. It doesn't make sense, I said. She stood there holding the fabric in her hands. I just like how it feels, she said quietly. I explained why that wasn't a reason. We didn't get the yellow curtains. That sounds small. It was small. But it wasn't the only thing. When our son David was born, she wanted to take a few years completely off work. I worried about money. I had spreadsheets. I showed her projections. I explained compound interest. It's smarter if you go back part-time, I said. She did. She never said I forced her, because I didn't. I just made the stronger case. That's how it always was. If she felt hurt by something I said, I would ask her to explain exactly why. If she couldn't put it into clean, logical words, I'd point that out. You're being emotional, I'd say, as if that settled it. I didn't yell. I didn't cheat. I paid the bills on time. I came home every night. I believed I was a good husband, and in many ways I was. But I needed to be right more than I needed her to feel understood. I didn't see that then. There were signs, small ones. She stopped arguing back as much in our 40s. If I corrected her in front of friends, she would go quiet instead of defending herself. I remember one dinner party when she was telling a story about a trip we took. She got the year wrong. I laughed and corrected her. Everyone chuckled. She didn't. On the drive home, she stared out the window. "You embarrassed me," she said. "I was just clarifying," I answered. "It didn't need clarifying." I explained that truth always needs clarifying. That was the end of the conversation, or so I thought. Damage doesn't announce itself. It collects quietly. I missed David's school play once because a client needed paperwork finalized. It seemed important. I told Margaret to record it. She did. That night she didn't mention it again, but I noticed she stopped reminding me about school events after that. I told myself she understood responsibility. I was providing. I was doing what a man was supposed to do. When she said she felt lonely sometimes, even with me in the house, I took offense. "How can you be lonely?" I asked. "I'm right here." She tried to explain. I remember the kitchen light was flickering that evening. She was drying dishes. "It's not about being in the same room," she said. I asked her what that even meant. She couldn't define it clearly enough for me, so I dismissed it. That's how loneliness grows, in the space between explanation and dismissal. In our 50s, our conversations became practical. Groceries, bills, doctor appointments. We stopped dreaming out loud. She once suggested we take a trip to the coast, just the two of us. "It's not a good time," I said. "Retirement's coming. We need to think long term." We never took that trip. When she cried after her mother died, I told her she needed to stay strong for the children. I meant well. I didn't know how to sit beside grief without trying to fix it. She didn't ask me for comfort much after that. The turning point didn't feel like thunder. It felt like a quiet sentence spoken in a doctor's office. Stage 4, ovarian cancer. She was 82. I was 84. I remember holding her hand while the doctor explained options. For the first time in decades, I didn't interrupt anyone. I didn't correct a detail. I didn't weigh statistics out loud. At home, she sat in her chair by the window. The afternoon light fell across her face, softer than I'd ever seen it. "Harold," she said, "I don't want to fight about small things anymore." We never fought that much, I replied automatically. She looked at me in a way she hadn't before. Not angry, just tired. We didn't fight, she said. You won. That sentence stayed in the room long after she stopped speaking. Over the next year, I became attentive in ways I should have been earlier. I made her tea without being asked. I sat with her during chemotherapy. I listened, really listened. But even then, sometimes the old habit crept in. When she described her pain, I would compare it to what the doctor had said was typical. She'd close her eyes and nod. One night, a few weeks before she died, she asked me something I wasn't prepared for. Did you ever just let me be right? I tried to think of examples. I searched my memory like it was a filing cabinet. I don't know, I said. She smiled faintly. That's okay. It wasn't okay. She died on a Tuesday morning in October. The house was quiet, too quiet. After the funeral, people told me what a solid couple we were, how steady, how dependable. They didn't see the slow erosion. The house feels larger now, not physically, emotionally. There are whole rooms filled with things I insisted on, furniture chosen for durability instead of comfort, curtains in neutral shades, no yellow anywhere. I sit at the kitchen table some mornings and replay conversations from 40 years ago. Not the big ones, the small corrections, the small victories. I can't remember every argument, but I remember the look on her face when she stopped trying. That's what I can't fix. Time doesn't give refunds. I can't go back and let her choose the curtains. I can't sit through that school play. I can't stand in the driveway after that dinner party and say, "You're right, it didn't matter." I thought marriage was about stability, about getting things correct, about building something solid. I didn't realize it was about making space. Being right gave me a sense of control. It made the world feel orderly, but it made her feel small. That's the part I see now. When you're young, you think love will stretch around your habits, that it will tolerate sharp edges because the foundation is strong. But love wears down quietly. It doesn't leave in one dramatic moment. It thins. In the last months of her life, we talked more honestly than we ever had. She told me she admired my discipline. She said I was dependable. But I needed you to bend sometimes, she said. I wish she had shouted that at me at 35. I wish she had shaken me, but she shouldn't have had to. I was the one who couldn't hear softness unless it was packaged as logic. Now at 94, I talk to her sometimes, out loud. I sit in her chair by the window. I imagine telling her she was right about the curtains, about the trip, about the loneliness. I imagine saying, it didn't matter who won. The house answers back with silence. If you're listening to me, I don't have instructions for you. I don't know your marriage. I don't know your habits. I only know that being right feels good in the moment. It feels solid, safe. But ask yourself what it costs. Ask yourself who has gone quiet around you. I'm not asking you to lose yourself. I'm not asking you to agree with everything. I'm just telling you that winning every argument leaves you standing alone. I used to think compromise meant weakness. Now I think it meant love. I have photographs on the wall. Margaret holding David as a baby. Margaret laughing at the beach on a trip we took with friends, not just the two of us. In every picture she's turned slightly toward me. I wonder when she stopped turning that way in real life. There's no grand ending to this story, no final apology that fixes everything. I apologized near the end. She squeezed my hand. I know, she said. I don't know if she meant she forgave me or if she meant she had always known who I was. I live with that uncertainty. At 94, mornings come slower. I make my own tea now. I sit by the window and watch the street wake up. Sometimes I think about the yellow curtains, how the room might have looked warmer. It's a small thing, but small things are where love lives. If this meant something to you, you can sit with it for a while. You don't need to do anything dramatic. Just notice the next time you're about to correct someone you love. Notice the weight of that choice. I don't have many years left, maybe not even many months. I don't want to be remembered as the man who was always right. I want to be remembered as Margaret's husband. That would be enough.